there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Reboot Roundtable, the podcast that is a 20 to 30-minute podcast where three of us get together and discuss reboots, rewrites, and sequels of classic fictional franchises. I am Connor, and I am joined, as always, by good old Jay Bailey.
Yo, what poppin'?
And Tyler.
Hello!
I
love the energy.
It gets higher every time. Every single time.
Higher every time.
Bit higher.
Can I get much higher? Okay, anyways. No, so
I thought you were
welcome
gonna
to
sing
Reboot
something
Roundtable,
completely
if you're
different.
still here. Today we will be hosted by Tyler, but before we dive into that, we just want to remind you to please like and subscribe to our channel because we're pretty cool and we want to be popular, or at least share our stories with the world. Also, Jay wants to plug something. What do you want to plug, Jay?
We're getting held captive. We're stuck in a basement. He's not letting us out. I'm currently locked in.
Jay doesn't know what he's talking about.
If
He
you hear
hasn't
me blink
had
30
any water
times,
today.
if you hear me start yelling for help,
plug there, Jay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube channel. Don't hit me.
We're not in the same
Speak up,
space.
boy!
It won't even sound like it.
I know. No, I'm not.
Anyways, yeah, so Jay has a YouTube channel. Jay, what do you do on your YouTube channel?
Dude, I play Rocket League. I upload Rocket League videos. We just did a video recently with Connor in it. Kind of.
I did.
Yeah. And yeah, I play Rocket League. We just hit over 100 subs, which is really cool. Y'all should check it out. It's called JBell. We'll leave a link somewhere in the description. Anything you want to plug before we get into this?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
Hey,
I'm
that's
working
a
on
promise
it.
for the future.
Exactly.
the
Next
future.
step. Or, well,
more than I can get.
A few steps
No,
away.
one of the next episodes.
So, plugs aside, you've now hopefully liked this, or we'll wait till the end and like it, and you've hopefully subscribed if you aren't. Tyler, what are we talking about today?
So, today, by the way, spoilers, we're talking about The Walking Dead. Just for reference, I've never seen the show, so if you reference it, I won't get it.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen the show.
I saw the games.
Cool.
So are you just going off the comics?
No, the Telltale games.
Yes!
Okay. All right. So we're not working with any of the
Yes.
original media. Hell yeah.
Nope,
we can work
I
with this.
love the Telltale games, though. I've played the first three. That's not important. We're only focusing on the first one.
Okay.
And honestly, so since we do rewrites, I was thinking of a rewrite where our boy doesn't die. I really want to see him and Clem go on and live and be like a happy family. So I think that'd be epic.
So since it's like a Telltale game, would it almost be like just another ending you could have an option to get?
I would be okay with that. I think it would make more sense though for it to be the main option because so the way the series goes, after this game, you don't play as your character anymore because they die, but you play as their daughter, Clem. So, and like, okay, it's cool playing as a kid and all, especially because like, I don't know, I just feel like it fits really well in the apocalyptic universe of The Walking Dead. But I don't know. I just feel like their relationship worked really well. Like, even if he only went on to the next game and you don't play as him still, I just feel like this isn't where he should end. Connor, have you played the games?
I don't do zombies. Zombies?
Oh.
No. I don't do anything zombie related. I don't like the rotting flesh. It makes me unpleasant.
I like zombies.
I guess I'll give you a quick rundown of The Walking Dead. Jay, have you played the game?
I watched Markiplier play them.
That's good enough. So you can help me out through this process.
I'll do my best.
We'll highlight the important bits. So at the start of the game, I don't remember the main character's name. Do you?
That is not a great start.
Well, I don't ever think like, oh, I'm this character. Like, I just think of the other characters. Like, I know Kenny, and like, but like, I don't know. I don't know his name. What is his name?
All right, I will tell you momentarily.
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
That's what I'm.
I need to use my phone because of how loud my clickety-clack keyboard is.
Imagine.
I don't know why my brain wants to say it's Joel, but that's the other
That's
one.
not
That's
right.
the other
That's
one.
the last of.
Is it
You're
Lee?
close. Lee? Yes, Lee.
Okay.
That's right. Thank you. All right, moving on. That was a really big waste of time. So, in the beginning of the game, you're playing as Lee, and Lee was convicted of a murder. So you're like on the way to jail for being convicted of a murder. I'm pretty sure it was a murder. That's not the important part. Anyways,
Yeah, it is.
so you're driving down the highway, going like 80, in the back of this cop car, and all of a sudden there's a zombie in the middle of the road, and dude doesn't see it because he's busy talking to you, and he crashes. Well, after the crash, you escape, and you go into this neighborhood, and in this neighborhood, you find a house that's opened, and you can just hear like rustling inside. So you're like, okay, I guess I'll go look for survivors because there's zombies chasing me. And turns out that you find a walkie-talkie, and there's this little girl named Clementine, and she's in the treehouse out back. So after finally getting her to come out of the treehouse because it's a zombie apocalypse, the little girl can't survive on her own. You guys move on and go through all these trials and tribulations throughout the story. Well, nearing the end of the story, Clementine has been kidnapped. You're trying to find her because, well, she's like basically your daughter at this point. You've taken care of her for like, I think it's like 2 months the game spans. Maybe it's like 2 weeks actually. That's not important. I haven't played the games in a while, I'm not gonna lie. but that's not the important part. Lee gets bit near the end of the game. Because I actually have no clue why. He picks up a hat and a walkie-talkie, and a zombie just pops out of the garbage and bites him.
I mean, that just sounds like Walking Dead's trademark nihilism.
Yeah, it's really sad because you're like, well, now that I'm bitten, what do I do? And like moments later, like maybe 15 minutes later, it gives you the option to chop your arm off. It's like, do you want to chop off your arm? And a lot of people choose to chop off their arm, which makes no sense to me because that's not how viruses work.
That feels like that follows zombie logic, though.
I mean, I guess, but like, okay, you've been bitten, and it's like an hour passes. Like, that's definitely in your system now. Maybe like if it was immediate, like within like a minute or two, I think maybe you would have been okay. But like, you're sitting with it for a while. I think you're a zombie at this point. Anywho, after you decide whether to chop your arm off or not, if you do, I think you're stupid, and it makes the game harder. But if you don't, you get to keep your arm. And when so you like wander into this town. This entire time, this guy's been talking to you. He's the guy that kidnapped Clem, and he's like, "I'm here. Come get some, nooblet." But instead, he's like mysterious and dark. And Lee's like, "Bro, why do you keep insulting me?" And he's like, "Because you took everything from me." And when you finally find him, he tells you the story about earlier in the game where you're given the chance to either take this car full of food and supplies or leave it. And no matter what you choose, you take it. But like either you take it or everybody else takes it. But it's like they try to make it your call.
The classic Telltale choice of fuck you, it's for the story.
Right. So, and he's like, you took everything from me. Like my wife left me, she took our kid, and they died, and I've been miserable, so now I'm taking everything you love and everything you care for. And he's like, dang bro, that's crazy. So what about it? And he's like, well, I'm gonna take Clem and we're gonna be a family. And you're like, nah, I really don't think so. And you fight him, and then Clem kills him, and then you guys leave. But as you're leaving, you like pass out because you're turning into a zombie. And after that, you go into this like store, and there's a dead zombie, but it was a cop before it was a zombie. And Clem gets handcuffs and a gun, but in the process has to kill her first zombie. Mind you, she's like 9, so not that old.
Murder.
It's very sad. But then she talks with Lee for a while, like about like okay, let's go. And he's like, nah, I'm gonna be a zombie. You have to go like be an adult. LOL. Sorry. And she's like, bruh. And so she handcuffs him to the radiator, and she leaves after killing him. Or well, you can choose not to kill Lee, but I do because I think it's the most humane option. I don't think anybody deserves to be a zombie. So now that you have the rundown of the games,
right?
I think in this ending, all we have to do is take out the part where Lee gets bit by a zombie. And yeah, from there I think it's pretty easy. Like, you have to walk through this horde of zombies to get to Clem and to save her, but you can just put zombie guts on. Like, that's what they do in the game. They put zombie guts on and just walk through the crowd.
They also did that in like episode like 1 or 2 of the
Yeah, so I don't know why they don't just do that and Lee gets to live.
People will obviously have picked up by now, or they will. I love positive endings. I love positivity in my storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is a good rewrite. And that's coming from someone who loves positivity. I think.
So you think Lee should die?
I think that's the point of the story. I don't have to. I think it's a fun choice, but I don't know if your pitch is necessarily improving it. But I am curious to see why you think it will overall. Because is Lee the main character? That's what the question is.
Oh, I never really thought about it like that. I just like him. He's my favorite character, and I wanted to see him live on. I never thought about how important it was.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times it's easy. I think people had the same reaction for The Last of Us, which I have not played. But I know a lot of people saw Joel as the main character, and very well he may have been. But I know a lot of the producers afterwards were like, no, Joel was not the main character. It was Ellie the whole time. So the question becomes, is the game really about Lee, or is it about Clementine?
Or is it about Clementine from Lee's perspective?
Bingo. Is part 1 simply a prequel, if you look at it from a plot perspective?
That's true, because the rest of the series is based around her. Like, even the latest, like the last games in the series are her as an adult.
And so, if you get rid of this change, I feel like you're pitching removing Ben Parker's death from Peter Parker's story.
Oh!
Which works in some cases, but that means you need another Ben Parker.
Well, not necessarily, because the next game, like, Lee dying doesn't really open up any doors for Clementine. And I said already, in the next game, you could still be Clementine. I just think Lee should not die here. Like, I would even be okay with him dying, like, down the road. I just don't think this is his place to die. I feel like it should be, like, epic. Like, they're fleeing from somewhere, and they can't get away from all the zombies, and Lee's like, go, I'll save you guys. Like, epic zombies moment, and, like, just starts slaughtering zombies and sacrifices himself to everybody else.
So I've not seen Walking Dead. I've not played the games. Is that in character with the franchise?
Yeah. Like, really in character. It happens a couple times.
Like, people go down in glorious deaths? Like, it's not like a...
Yeah.
Is it... I'm kind of curious, is it more Game of Thrones where we'll kill things randomly, or is it more Lord of the Rings where things will die with purpose?
Most of the time it's purpose, but there's definitely a couple here and there where it's like, I don't think they needed to die there. Like, in the game after the first one, this is a spoiler, just a heads up, so, like, skip past if you don't want to hear anything about the second game. But in the second game, there's a point where you're out hunting with 2 other people, and one of them, like, they're at this river creek where a bunch of people died, and you're looting their stuff, and one of the people get bit, and they die. But I don't see any purpose in it. Like, the story doesn't get any gain from this person dying. And it just moves on. Like, they die, and the game moves on. So, I think there is definitely purposeless deaths in this universe, but a lot of them are very purposeful.
Well, and then that comes to the question, is Lee's death purposeless?
I don't think it's purposeless, but I definitely think it could be more effective down the line.
So you think overall him surviving is better for Clementine's story?
I think so, because then you could have had these moments of him, like, building her up. Because, like, okay, like I said, this was a 2-month period max. Like, it wasn't, like, a lot of time. In the next game, I think she's, like, a year older or 2 years older. Like, he could even fill that time gap and die, like, right at the beginning of the next game, or even during the space between the 2 games. I just don't think it was very effective for him to die right at the end, like, when he was needed most. Like, after this, Clementine had to, like, walk through a bunch of zombies and, like, find a way to safety, you know? And had nobody to help lead her.
Is that not kind of the point of his death, though? Is it, like, she now is on her own and, like, feels the full weight of the world?
Oh, and is, like, stranded?
This is weirdly like a reverse reboot roundtable, where it's like...
Yeah. I think it's effective, though. Like, I think not all ideas are good.
I don't think your idea is bad. I think...
Well, yeah, maybe not bad per se, but not all ideas are effective.
I think there's a way you can rework it to keep him alive.
Yeah.
But the way you would do it is you'd have to, like... You'd almost have to introduce, like, another character to fulfill a similar role. And then you would have to make it so that Clementine is no longer...
Yeah.
Because the thing
and I think that the whole effectiveness of the series, at least from what I know of the fans, was Clementine's like being this main character.
It's always that idea of the like for the kid main character. The Ellie did it in Last of Us. There's like a really good example of this, but the idea of like the kid that they need help early on, the apocalypse. I mean, what's a kid gonna do in the apocalypse alone? So you have this older mentor style character come in and really, get things going, start teaching them
the
world,
ball rolling,
and surviving, and everyone latches onto this mentor character the same way that our child protagonist latches onto this. And you see it with Joel, and you see it with Lee here, in the idea of they almost feel like the main character because they're the ones doing most of the heavy lifting. Our main character is the child. They're going through the world and they're experiencing things as it comes. But there has to be that moment of our child main character must now, quote unquote, leave the nest. Now you can do that in a couple of ways, but one of the best ways to do that in post-apocalypse type shows or games or whatever is to have that mentor appear somehow. And it just makes sense for appearance to death.
Right.
And it sets up stakes. Yeah. And I think that's an important thing to like, even like audience at home, because like we see fans all the time be like, hey, I want this character to be saved in such and such story, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes you have to look at like, just because it would be nice, does it make the story stronger?
Very true, very true.
And that is kind of the whole idea of Reboot Roundtable, is like we want people to be encouraged to think of rewrites and reworks, but also help them see some like really cool ways of doing it and not just the boring stereotypes we see a lot from these series. So the question is, can you save Lee in The Walking Dead without ruining the message?
Honestly, no. I think it's very effective that Lee dies at the very end of the games. Like Jay said, the mentor figure like dying and like the pupil having to figure out like what to do without them. I think that is a very effective process in Clem's story, and like in the next game she has to move on without him, and it's hard on her. Like that's definitely one of the driving points of the next game, is she's like, dang, I really miss my dad, and all these people are like really trying to fill that parental role and they just can't.
It's the classic hero's journey thing where a mentor has to die at the point the mentor does, because the mentor would solve all the problems without the mentor. It's why Gandalf dies to the Balrog or Obi-Wan dies to Vader, because if you kept them around, they'd solve all the issues. If Lee is still around, he would solve all of Clementine's problems, theoretically speaking.
Right.
And so I think what we title this video is, and I don't know how we title it, but it'll be this, the question. It's not The Walking Dead pitch saving Lee. It's, can you save Lee in The Walking Dead? That is our episode, this title.
Yeah, I like
and
it.
That's kind of the question. And I think it leads to a question of reboots in general. And especially our fan pitches of reboots is, what is the goal of those? Well, it's to pitch a way to improve the story. And sometimes our ideas won't be improvements on the story.
It also gets really difficult.
My idea for this series is to kill Clementine.
I guarantee you there's at least one person on the internet who'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, buddy. That's a good idea right there.
But Jay, I believe you were going to say something about this.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I kind of forgot.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jay.
No, we're chilling.
That's such a mood.
Then, while we're here and still in this topic, I do want to try and see if we can't just come up with a way to make.
Yes.
Right.
Let's see if us three together can try and make this work. So, as you described it, zombie bite, option to cut off arm, and then go save Clementine, right? That's our series of events.
Yeah.
Then,
so,
first things first, you have, like, no matter what, you have to get rid of that initial bite, because he can't survive otherwise. You have to make it so that bite never happens.
Easy.
Okay.
Like, literally just, like, okay, in the game, he, like, is just walking around looking for the hat Clementine's hat. I think he's looking for Clementine specifically, but he sees the hat and the walkie-talkie, and he's like, where's my kid? And so he picks up the stuff, and then the zombie pops out and bites him. Why does a zombie pop out and bite him? Obviously, then it's effective for the story, but we can just remove that. Like, I think that's super easy.
What if you reframe it, and this would be a whole different thing than what Telltale normally does, where it is a player decision that gets you bitten? Like, do you go and save the hat, or do you go on your journey? And it seems like a small thing, but it sets up like, is Lee going to save this girl, or is Lee more focused on his own survival, and the girl is tangential. You know the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. I don't know if that feels his character though, because from what I can tell, he's very, very interested. She survives as well.
Yeah,
and so having the option,
pushing motivation for the whole game.
Yeah. So having the option of like him just foregoing his character motivation.
Well, I'm not saying he wouldn't go after her, but it would be this small choice of like, in cosmetically, because it's Telltale, she just wouldn't have the hat anymore. But in game, like, you would also have that emotional sidetrack of like, when he isn't going to go for the hat, he's almost too practical.
I think you make it harder to choose between the two. Like, okay, in this moment, he's just looking for Clementine. There's no real threat chasing them. Like, there's no bad thing happening. What if you set that up in the scenario? Zombies are chasing him, or like people are shooting at him. It could be anything. It's the Telltale universe.
Ooh.
And he's running along, and he sees it in the middle of the street, and he's like, Clementine! And he can either choose to run and go get that radio, or just go and keep wandering on. Because at that point, he didn't know where Clementine was until he picked up that radio, and dude was like, this is where I am. So what if it just makes it harder to find Clementine? Like, makes him take a longer amount of time.
Well, you could also...
Yeah, go for it.
You could also, in that same situation, change it around a bit, where he's in danger, he's running from the... Down one path, he can kind of see her hat and her, like... But down another path, he, like, maybe earlier in the scene, saw her, like, running in that direction. This would be something of, does he trust what he sees, or does he trust his gut? And either way, he would end up with Clementine, but one side would get him bit.
Well, if you do it, I think the thing is you need to make there be a cost, no matter which choice you make. Like, if we're saying that one path is he gets bit, but Clementine's like scot-free through it, I think your other timeline is he doesn't get bit, but Clementine pays a price in a way. I look at like the Batman Telltale where like Alfred just literally loses an eyeball. Like, I'm not saying we give Clementine an eye patch, but
we could make it like even that
there needs to be a
like,
cost.
Maybe like her arm could be scuffed up to like where he was a bit rough trying to like hide her away.
Okay, wait, whoa, crazy idea. She has to lose an arm like he loses the arm trying to stop the zombie virus.
Oh, but I don't know, because you have to play as Clementine for the rest of the games.
That's
like,
fair.
That is a set in stone thing.
That's the thing, is it's going to hurt you like going forward. Telltale is not a stranger to having consequences from the prior game.
Well,
That's true, but I feel like a mistake you made in game one shouldn't affect you for like 3 more games.
But it's part of their whole story. What is the story of the Telltale, like, or of The Walking Dead? It's this idea of like humans were the worst monster all along. And so Lee choosing something more selfish or leading to a selfish action, even if it's like just a moment of mistake, a moment of hesitation where you as the player are like, I gotta save Lee. I like Lee. Like, Clementine's great, but I gotta save myself, as some of us would do in that situation. But it will cost Clementine.
I get what you're saying. Like, maybe make the street with the hat and the walkie-talkie like more zombie riddled, and if he does go get the hat and stuff, he's gonna get bitten. But the other one is like completely empty.
Exactly. And it's just this moment of cowardice, like something anyone could have. It'll also humanize Lee even more, especially in Telltale games. That's really important.
I feel like you could do something like that, but I feel like if you chose, we'll say the left path is the path like where you don't pick up the hat. I feel like if you choose that path, like the outcome is you get to Clem quicker. But in that process, I feel like you said, Clem should be hurt in some way. Or like, even if it's like emotional scarring,
well,
like when Lee like runs up to like save her or whatever, like Lee gets punched in the face, or I don't know.
Well, your paths are Lee pays the price so Clementine can be fine, or Clementine pays the price so Lee doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I could easily see people getting very divisive on that choice as well. And going forward in the game, honestly, what you could do is your pitch is a DLC.
Oh, that's neat.
A story
like
DLC
that.
for the story. You know, they
Yeah.
release a special edition and you drop, hey, now you have the option to save Lee, but at what cost?
But at what cost?
You can still keep
Which I think is very much a
Clementine.
message of zombie genre in general.
What do you think about that, Jay?
I think that's right. And then also with that, you could keep Clementine as the main. But instead of her as she is, if you pick the option to save Lee there and maybe Clementine just gets away and like they separate or something happens, but you would have a bit more
Oh,
disdain for him. Be
Yeah.
more
That's neat.
independent early on.
oh,
A different kind of independence, almost vengeful
yeah.
independence.
Yeah.
I get it.
For like a teenager.
Even if it wasn't something like that, I think it'd be cool. Like even like if the consequence was physical and that's purely it, like she loses an arm, I think that could be really cool because within the next few, like within the whole series, we see her go from like a little kid from when she's with Lee to a full-grown adult, and I think that would be neat to see like a prosthetic grow through the like apocalypse.
And so I think we've really answered the question. Can you save Lee? Yes, but it's going to cost you something from Clementine. And
Yeah.
it answers the question is every idea for a reboot amazing at first? No. But that's kind of the point of the podcast is we're going to work together and reboot, rewrite, or rework a fictional franchise. And I think this is where we end the episode. We've succeeded
Wait, we
at
missed
this
something.
endeavor.
We
Yes.
saved Lee.
What did we miss?
We missed something.
Oh, no.
What we miss?
How do we involve Jack Black?
Oh my gosh!
Jack Black wasn't in the last 2 episodes, and I was so hoping this bit
Yeah,
had
he
died.
was.
No,
Wait, was he
wasn't-
not?
He was not. He was in Harry Potter. Actually, he wasn't in Dragon
Did I
Ball Z.
forget Jack- We get Jack
DC.
Black in Dragon Ball?
No, we messed
Wait,
up.
we need to edit it. We need to edit.
We need to
No,
edit.
we're not retrospectively adding him in.
Can
That
you
was a failure on your 2. I got it past you.
can you edit
As for where does Jack Black go?
Oh.
What if he just is a narrator now? He's a narrator for the
Jack
story.
Black's the narrator?
He's a narrator
I
for
like
the
that.
story. Joel
Yeah.
runs down the street.
Skabooey! You know? Something like
Kabooey!
that.
I feel like it's like a normal dude at first. He's like, Joel and Clem, or Lee and Clem are
Oh,
having a blah blah.
as
Whoa!
Lee's
What are you
insanity-
doing here?
Like if
It's
Lee
me,
starts
Jack
losing
Black!
sanity, I don't know if there's a sanity thing or anything. Like Jack Black slowly starts going insane in Lee's head, like that kind of vibe.
Actually, he kind of does throughout the
Starts
game.
talking
the
about
more
others'
stressful
genres.
decisions you make, the more vignette comes over your screen. Or
Yeah.
at least that's what I noticed.
The Jack Black meter.
The Jack Black. He
Yeah,
starts talking about
JV
Jumanji.
meter.
With that, thank you guys so much for listening to this very unique episode of the Reboot Roundtable. Please come again next week, and thank you for enjoying. Please leave a comment about what your thoughts were on just reboots in general, and did we save Lee in an interesting way?
And subscribe.
Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.